So let us recap some of the things what we did yesterday. You just let me know once you can see my screen. Guys, can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Yes. Can you see the
Yes.
screen
Can you see
now?
the screen now?
Not for
Not
me.
for
Yes.
me. Yes.
No, it works for me.
What about others? Naresh? Oh, hi, Sunil bhai.
Yeah, sir.
Sir, can you able
Sir,
to see
can
my
you able to
screen?
see my screen?
Sorry, guys. I
Sorry,
think
guys. I think
my voice is
my voice
echoing.
is
Unable
echoing.
to
I'm
hear my
able to
voice.
hear my voice.
Yes.
Maybe someone
Maybe
has
someone
connected
has connected
both phone
both
and
phone
laptop.
and laptop.
Yes, yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes, yes.
Anyone, can you please
Anyone, can you please discard
discard from either from
discard
mobile
from
or
either
from
from mobile or from
laptop?
laptop?
I think
I think
now it
now
is
it
No, same
no
echo sound
same
is
echo
coming.
sound is coming.
Uh,
Uh,
Hi, Sunil.
Hi, Sunil.
Still
Still
the echo sound
the
is
echo.
it? I think we can solve this problem with Zoom, right? Yeah, now I'm not able to hear the echo. Is it fine, sir?
yeah. Now fine, sir.
Yeah, yeah, now it's fine.
No
Yeah, now it's good.
Good, good. Right. I think I will go ahead with the same recording, right? Like though the first few 2-3 minutes there was a sound, but that is fine. Or else, if you want to stop the recording and start a new recording, also, if you want that, also we can do that.
I think it's fine, Harish. You can
Yeah,
continue.
yeah, sure. Yeah. So, are you able to see my screen now?
Yeah.
Okay, guys. So now what is happening that yesterday we had discussed about the big picture of Docker, actually, how Docker came into existence. And no, we had this diagram actually, which we had drawn this diagram where it shows you the big gap between the
Gap between the
generation one and
generation
generation
one and
three.
generation three.
Rajesh bhai,
Yes,
Yes,
again it is
can
echoing.
again it is echoing.
can you give little bit idea on that yesterday class? Just idea.
Yeah. Now, what? Just we'll have a quick recap actually. So we had a very big picture on what exactly Docker. So it means that we just discussed on like no, application is basically it's a heart of the business, right? So whenever any business you have to any drive the business means you have to develop an application, and that application which you develop, right? That could be in any language like PHP, or it could be in .NET, or it could be in Java, right? Basically, the application is compromising of your binaries, libraries, and APIs, right? Application programming interface. Now, what is happening that very late, like late 90s, or late 90s, like in 90s, 95s, right? Basically, we had an architecture of a server where we have a server, we have a OS, and we have on top of the OS we have a platform which is nothing but either Java or .NET, and on top of that we'll have an environment. This environment is nothing but it is a server environment, we say. So like Apache, Nginx, or Tomcat, any server environment means that where you can host your application. Now, what is happening that this is was the typical architecture which earlier it was used, and you were not able to host many of the application in a single server. Like only one application or few of the application is to run, and whatever the hardware resources we have, you are as a user, right? We were not be able to use this complete hardware resources in an efficient manner, right? And also, like for example, tomorrow some more application get increased. Like tomorrow, if they came up with saying that, oh, I have to develop one more application. So what happened, right? There was a process of procuring one more server and having the same stack again, like OS, platform, and environment again, developing an application and deploying it. So basically, a lot of hardware resources or a lot of hardware was consumed, and it was very you have to pay a lot of money to buy the hardware licensing software, even the OS software and all. So it was basically, it was this was the first kind of a generation. Later, what happened, right? Once the virtualization came into the picture, the virtualization, I think it came in a very early in the 2000s, I think in 1998 or 2000, during that area time, what happened, the virtualization came, and that we call it as a hypervisor. And we have a lot of hypervisor softwares in the market, right? Like VMware, OpenStack, KVM, Zen. There are many are there. So using this hypervisor, what we started doing, that we started creating a virtual machine, VMs, right? And what VMs does, what this hypervisor does, it actually, whatever the hardware resources it has, right, that it was dividing across the VMs based on its requirement. Like for example, when I am creating, a user is creating a virtual machine, he suppose he wants his application to be executed and he needs 4 cores and 8 GBs. So what the hypervisor will do, hypervisor was able to allocate the hardware resources to this VM. Again, one more VM was created. It requires 2 GB and 2 cores and 2 core CPU and 4 GB of memory. Then it is to assign. So based on the VM requirement, the hypervisor was able to divide the entire hardware resources to the different VMs. So here, at least what happened, right? We were able to use whatever the hardware resources which were provided by the server between or across the VMs. And these things, what happened, right? This OS platform and environment, this used to be there. Whatever we have this stack, right? The application stack, the same application stack, even we used to have inside the VM. But here, what is happening, that what is a drawback here in virtual machine is that actually, right, whatever the resource was given to this VM, like we have given 4 core and 8 GB. Suppose you are having an application, it might not use the complete hardware resources. It might not use the 4 cores or 8 GB. Suppose the application is using some 250 MB of RAM and just 250 MB of RAM and just 1 core CPU or 2 core CPUs to use. So in that case, what happened, right? The remaining whatever it is left out, right? That you cannot make use for some other. It means that those left out resources, it cannot be even used by some other VM also, because this resource is dedicated. It is within this VM. You cannot use outside that. That is one thing. Secondly, what is happening, the drawback is that whatever the OS which was there, it means that whenever you create a VM, you have to create a VM, you have to create or install a OS in the VM. While creating a VM, you have to even install a OS also. So what is happening, that whatever the hardware resources were given, even some resources were also being used by the operating system also. So whatever the hardware resource is there, it was used both by application as well as the OS also. But as I said yesterday, whenever an application is running, basically the application requires more resources to be provided for loading binaries and libraries for its execution. Application, truly, it might not be completely dependent upon the OS. Once the application get executed, that application will start running, right? It will start running, it will start getting executed. So it means that more CPU compute or more memory has to given for an application. So it means that in the virtual machine or in the virtual virtualization architecture, we used to even give the importance even to the operating system as well as application, right? So this was a generation 2. So now so here what you could see, that in each and every VM we used to have an OS stack. It means that you need to have an OS. Here the OS is a full-fledged OS. It is same thing like here. Whatever we have a desktop OS here, right? Same thing, even each and every virtual machine will also have a full-fledged or a full-blown OS, we used to say like that. Okay. Even the OS also requires all kind of hardware resources to get executed. But what happened over the period of time, as you know, that as the things got like a change, where earlier what happened, right? Lot of prominence or lot of importance was given for the hardware. Slowly the importance from the hardware to the OS started shifting, right? Now what happened, now the time has come where what happened, the importance from the OS to the application has got shifted now. It means that people don't really want to know much about the OS. They are not bothered. They say that, okay, man, my OS is Windows or Linux or Mac OS. I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about my application. Right now, for example, simple, sir. Now you have a Swiggy company, right? Swiggy, what happened? They have developed their app, and the Swiggy app is actually hosted in the AWS cloud. Actually, now if you go and ask to the Swiggy developer, sir, are you interested to know how exactly the Amazon maintains the server for running your application, or maintains the information about the hardware, about the software stack, about the OS, about whatever? what he will say, why I have to worry about all those things? I'm not worried. I have to worry only about my application Swiggy, which is running. If my application is perfectly working fine, I need not to even understand underlying whatever the resource which has been allocated for me to run the Swiggy. Why I have to bother? So what happens? Swiggy people or Swiggy company is not at all bothered about the underlying operating system or the hardware information, because they are concerned about their application, right? Software as services, SaaS we say, right? Software as services. So now what happened from the hardware to the OS, and from the OS to the application, the shift has started now. So this is what the second generation, and you could see till 2015, till 2015 or 2014, this trend was there. Even today also, as you know, most of your company, even in our company, we are still using this VM concept, virtual machine concept, because lot of our applications, like a legacy application or a very big applications, still they are running in the VM itself. Correct? It's not like we have made all our application migrated to the container technology. No, still not. But slowly the process is happening now. Now what is happening that after this, what happened in 2014 and 2013 and 14? What happened, right? There was the company by name Docker Inc. or Docker Inc. Earlier the company name was .cloud. They came up with the Docker technology actually. So what Docker says actually that you need to have the same server as you have been using in generation 1, generation 2. So here what happened, the same server you have, and on top of the server you will have an operating system. On the operating system, it could be Linux or Windows or anything, Mac. Preferably we can choose Linux. Okay. Now on top of this Linux, we used to install a Docker software or Docker Docker package. We install it. Once the Docker package is getting installed, what happened? Once the package getting installed, once the Docker restart, the service restart happen, this Docker will be called as a Docker's engine, or it can be called as a Docker daemon, or basically it's a daemon process which is running. So once this process is running, what happened? There is a concept, something known as a isolation comes into the picture. Isolation area. Isolation area is nothing but it's a container. Now what it says actually, okay, boss. Now what is happening that I will create a container. What this container means? It is an isolation area. Okay. But what exactly this container contain? This container contain? This container will contain a minimal OS. So it means that the container has minimal OS. It's a very small OS, sir. Minimal OS. Okay. And each container will have time, or CPU time slice is allocated. Memory is allocated. Some kind of a file system is provided for your container. Okay, as well as some kind of a process manager or process tree is assigned, and some storage and a networking is provided. It means that this isolation area, which we call the container, all these resources are assigned. How these resources are assigned? See, these are all part of your minimal OS. If you take minimal OS, I can do like this. I'll do one thing. I'll cut it, this one. Minimal OS is not, but this is a small part. It is not a full-fledged. It's a very minimal, very small stuff. Okay. These are not, but if you see these things, what you'll understand, oh, this is nothing but this is a Linux kernel feature. Linux kernel. This is nothing but it's a Linux kernel only, we'll say. So what happened, right? Whenever any container or isolated area is created, now again, who is going to create an isolated area? The Docker daemon is going to create isolated area, or the Docker engine. Both are one of the same. Okay, we can even call it as a Docker host. Okay, no problem, because here also we say this is nothing but we call this as a guest operating system. And here what is happening, the hypervisor or the VM, we call it as a host operating system, host. It means that always the guest is managed by the host. Similarly here, this container is nothing but this is a Docker client or the Docker machine or the Docker container. This Docker containers are managed by the Docker host, which is nothing but Docker daemon. So Docker host, Docker daemon, Docker server, or Docker region, all are one and the same. You can use this interchangeably whenever you require. Okay. Now what we are doing here in a Docker container, which is but isolated area, we have a minimal OS. Apart from the minimal OS, here what is happening that you within apart from the minimal OS, we need to have an image to run. What is the image? The image is nothing but the application. Nothing but the application. So now, okay, sir. So it means that actually, like when you say that my isolated area container has an image, and when you are running that container, when you're running or when you're starting that container, it means that you are actually running your application. It means that you say, sir, I want to host my application, sir, or my application has to get executed, or it has to run in the container. It means that you say that, okay, please start the container, or please run the container. When you run the container, what the Docker daemon will do? Docker daemon is going to start the application which is there in this container. That application is that way, it's an image. So basically, what happened that we require a kind of an image actually. That image is nothing but it's an application. So image is nothing but it is a bundle encrypted with encrypted with libraries or some APIs like this. So image is nothing but it's a combination of all these things. So you build an image actually. You have an image. So basically you build an image and then you make that image to run in a container or in this isolated area. Once this is running, you say that my application started running. It means that your containers are running. So till the container is running, sir, you can access your application. Once the container will get stopped, you will not be able to access the application. It means that your application will also stop. It will not run. It will not get executed. Now, typically what is happening is that they might ask an question also in interview, like, sir, you might have come across with many of the questions which I'm posting. They might say, sir, what is the difference between the virtualization and the Docker? Okay, what is an advantage of being a Docker than the virtualization? Here, what is happening, right? In a Docker, we say that we are not giving much importance to the OS. We are giving an importance to the application which is running in the container, or inside the container. That's what you have to say. Here, what is happening that you have to give importance both to the application as well as the OS, because OS also allocates most of the resource which is provided by the server. Here, what is happening? Very minimal, very thin. But what is happening again? What happened? This Docker, whenever it want to execute the application which is running, this minimal OS will communicate with your Docker host only or Docker daemon only to get executed. And again, what happened further? What is happening that? See how is the flow? This container will communicate with the Docker daemon or Docker host or Docker server, and this Docker will actually communicate with your OS, which is running in your system. So what is happening? There is a two-way of communication happening to make your container run. But what we are doing here we are trying to make your container a very small container. It's a very lightweight container, sir. Here, what is happening that you need to have a large VMs to run very large application. Here, what is happening? You need to have a very simple, thin container you need to just run an application. And through this way, what is happening that you can make your container to get executed on premises, or you can even make your container to run on your private cloud or in a public cloud or anywhere. It means that it is something like a platform independent. It means that you can host your application in any environment, either in the on-premises where you have a QA environment or a dev environment, or either in the cloud environment, or tomorrow you say that, oh, I want to migrate my application which is running in on-premises to the cloud, right? The AWS team will ask, sir, whether your application is running in a container. You will say, yes, it's a container. It's very easy to migrate. migration of an application which is running in a container is very, very simple. Even you can also do migration. But what is happening that if somebody says that no, my application is running in a VM, but I have to migrate my application from VM to the cloud, it is bit challenging. It is little difficult. You need to follow some steps to do that, and that is little. It's not like it's a cumbersome, but it is achievable, but it is difficult. That's what happened, right? Nowadays, whoever is developing an application, they think in a mind that my application has to be a lightweight application. Basically, it has to be a microservice, and it has to run in a container technology. And the best container technology which is provided nowadays is a Docker. You have many other also container technology, like Google also provides a container technology, right? And even like Apache Mesos is one of the container technology which is provided. There is a Rocket container technology. There is a Docker. Like that, there are many companies are there which are providing the container technology. But what happened, or why people are shifting to Docker? Because it's a very easily manageable, right? Apache Mesos also many companies are using Docker technology from Mesos. Even Rocket is also heavily been used. As per some survey I was seeing, 16% of the application which is running, the production application which is running, they are using a Rocket as a container. And what is happening that 30 to 35% of the application which is running in the production, they use a Docker container. It means that major, major stakes is been taken care by the Docker. That's what most of the companies are shifting to Docker. And Docker, as you know, it's an open source. You do not to pay any money for thing. You have to only give. Suppose you want to take a support from the Docker company, you have to give some supporting charge you have to give, or else it is an open source. Even like tomorrow you want to customize your Docker itself, you can do it actually. Similarly, what happened, Apache Mesos also, you have both. You have a open source as well as a proprietary. People, if they go for proprietary means they'll get a lot of features. If they go with the open source or free edition, right, they will not get that much features. But whereas Docker, whatever the features are provided by Docker, everything is an open source. And Docker is basically developed by using the Go language. It means that whatever the libraries are there, right, Docker libraries which are written, that were purely written in the Go language. It means that even whatever the commands you are using, right, whatever the commands you're using, later we'll see what are the commands you're using. Even those commands are even written in the Go language. So you know that Go language is a language which is developed by the Google, right? Even this is very popular language. A lot of people are learning or they are working on Go language, and it's one of the most advanced stuff what people are working on Go language. And Docker is one of the example where they have used to implement the complete Docker, they have used the Go language. So that is one thing. And here one more thing what you can give an answer to an interviewer. You can say, sir, here you have a minimal OS, right? Here you have a minimal OS. Whenever you have a minimal OS, when it comes to the OS patching, suppose assume that here we are having Linux, all the three machines having Linux, assume that, and assume that you are having Red Hat Linux. Now Red Hat, what happened, right? They will release some security patch, and they will strictly tell to all the customers that you need to install that patch. You need to install that patch in your running RHEL machine, right? In your running RHEL operating system. So what you have to do that you have to somehow schedule a call for the OS patching, and you need to maintain somebody. You have to maintain a person to do the patching and all, and to do the testing and all. Here what is happening, that patching is not at all required, because we are not having any full-fledged OS. If you want to do the patching, you have to only do the patching for only this operating system, only one operating system. Here you have each and every VM have its own individual operating system, so you have to patch it here everywhere. So here the patching concept is not coming to the picture. So what is happening, that even if you come to the security level also, it is good in container, right? And you are reducing a lot of money because you are avoiding to get into any kind of a patching. So this is what you can give some information. It means that here operating system centric in VM virtual machine, here application centric. It means that more concentration is given for the application rather than the OS. Here what is happening, that patching is required, here patching is not required. Here it's a heavyweight, right? Here it's a very lightweight, and you are using a container. Here migration of any application from the VM to any other environment is cumbersome. Here it is very simple. You can migrate the application, and it is a lightweight. It's a microservice which is running, right? So this is some of the advantages. Disadvantages, yes, you will see that okay, you cannot run any very heavy big application. You cannot run in a container. That is one thing, and because see one more thing, sir. Because it is an isolated area, sir. Because suppose you are having this container 1, container 2, and container 3 like this, right? Now what is happening in each and every container, it is run with its own isolated area. It means that each and every container, it had its own CPU, it had its own memory, file system, processor, and everything. Now what is happening that if one container is getting disturbed, if one container is getting killed, it will not impact the other containers. All these containers are individual, and there's a very big advantage of containers, sir. What is it means that assume that, see, suppose assume that in a VM, assume that here, assume that, sir, you have, so in a virtual machine, I'm just giving, you say that Rajesh, I want Java 8 to be installed. Okay, so what you'll do, you can install the Java with the package open JDK 8 hyphen JDK 8 like this. You will take the package and you will install it. Fine. Suppose assume that tomorrow, if there's a required come in the same VM, sir, you want to run an application, but that application requires a Java 9. Now what is happening is that already some Java version is already there, but your system VM will not allow you to install Java 9. It will say that either you uninstall the Java 8 and install the Java 9, or else you upgrade the Java 8 to come into the Java 9. It means that basically you cannot have two versions of the same software in the VM. But that is not the case in case of Docker. What the Docker will do that? What the Docker will do that? Server icon. But we saw, right? We took some VMs, I mean the server, right? So this is my favorite. Copy. So here you have a server, right? And Docker icon. So I have a Docker here installed, right? And basically we have an operating system. You have an OS here. We have an operating system. So here on operating system, you are actually installing a Docker here. Once you install the Docker, sir, you need to restart the Docker. It means that you need to restart the Docker daemon. Once you restart the Docker daemon, what happens? The Docker will start running in an operating system. Now, what is happening that you can create a container, sir. Yeah, container. Yeah, you can. You can have a n number of containers like this, sir. Like this. Now, in this container, sir, you will say that, Rajesh, I want Tomcat 8 to be installed in this container. No problem. You can install the Tomcat 8. It means that you can actually run a Tomcat server here. Actually, you can run a Tomcat server. Oh, sorry. I'm not able to delete, huh? So what here you say that Rajesh, I want to run a Tomcat here. So I can basically take a Tomcat 8 and I can install it. Now again you say that here also, Rajesh, I want a Tomcat 8. Okay, no problem. You can have a Tomcat 8. One more container which is running its own Tomcat 8. And here you will say that I want to run an Apache server here. Okay, you can run an Apache here in this container, and in this container you say that actually I have to run the Jenkins server here. So it means that here you are having these are all the different containers which are been running in the same machine actually, right? But here what is happening that there's no conflict. Even though you are having the same Tomcat 8, Tomcat 8, still 2 instances of the Tomcat 8 you can run in the same server, sir. But the same thing you cannot achieve, 2 instances of the same you cannot achieve here in case of a VM. That is not possible. That is the beauty of the container actually, because this is an isolated area and you are running some image. That image can be same image. Here I'm having an image of Tomcat 8. Here also I'm having Tomcat 8. Here also I'm having Tomcat 9. Here I'm having Apache. One more container having a Jenkins. So what happened that you can run n number of different applications in a different container. That's what it makes so interesting to work on container technology. Clear, sir? Till here? Sir, till here, any doubts?
Yeah, all good.
Okay. Now what is happening here is that actually, what is the agenda of today's class actually? What is the agenda? What we are going to do is that we need to learn. See, yesterday I told you something, right? Like, for example, you need to have a Docker Hub account, okay, right? So that you have to create Docker Hub account, and also you need to even work with the playground, with Docker Playground. That also you can try out, okay. Also you need to have a AWS account where you need to create a EC2 instance and install any OS actually. So preferably I'll be choosing Ubuntu. You can choose Red Hat or RH or anything. And yesterday I shown you like how to install Docker and how to run it. So basically we need, these are the requirements for us to start working on Docker. So what we're going to do today is that actually we are going to learn about some of the Docker commands actually, or Docker features. What are the Docker features, or what are the Docker commands? What are the things which you can play with the Docker command? That we are going to learn. So what I understand is that actually, because this is a very vast topic, sir. Docker command, it's a very vast topic. There are a lot of modules are there, which we have to learn. Plus, what is happening that you cannot cover in 1 hour class actually. Maybe what is happening that this Docker command exhibition will go even tomorrow also. We have to even learn many things. And in yesterday, I told you, right, most of the interview questions will be asked in the Docker command itself, actually. Most of the interview questions. So we have to be very good here. So what I can do that, sir, what I would prefer you guys actually, whatever I'm doing now, if I'm very much fast, you let me know, I will slow down my speed. You also should practice along with me. If you practice along with me, what is happening that then and there itself, you will ask me the doubts, sir. It'll get cleared. It means that actually you are in sync with me when I'm practicing something. That is one thing. It means that you should have a Docker Hub account. You should have a AWS account. If you are not aware of these things, it is very easy, sir. It's not that rocket science. You can create the account. AWS also, many of you, I think you already have it, or you can either have in Azure or Google Cloud or in AWS anywhere. Now, when you launch an instance and when you install a Docker and all, right, whatever the problem which you will face later, right, you will get clarified everything now itself if you are practicing along with me. So it's all left to you, sir. I can take up the session and later you say that no, I'll practice later also. That is fine. But for what I would want to tell you, very seriously, the one thing with the human actually that he will not give the time again for the same stuff to learn. Suppose if even though you are having a recording, right, it is very difficult that you will open that recording and see what is going on. It's very difficult, sir. So what is happening that I would say that preferably I would say that you practice along with me itself, whatever I am doing. Okay, that would be the best, I think. So I'll do it again here. Okay, so I'll go with the hub.docker.com. So yesterday I told you that you need to create an account in this. Once you create an account, so already have an account, so I'll do a sign in here. Okay, what is Docker Hub? Everything we will see later. It's very interesting thing, and few questions will be asked in a Docker Hub also. What is public registry? What is private registry? They will ask you that. So I have logged into the Docker Hub now, because here you could see that Raj Linux is my Docker ID actually. It's my Docker account name. Okay, so I have logged in. Now what is happening that once you are logged into Docker Hub, you can actually log into this play with Docker actually. Play with the Docker is nothing but you need to quickly work on a Docker without installing or without procuring any hardware or any OS. You can do through it this one, and for each and every instance per day they'll provide 4 hours, so you can just create an instance, and this is what it is here. Now, if I say Alt Enter, you can expand it. It's like you can toggle it. Alt Enter, it will it will minimize it. Alt Enter, it will maximize it. Here, what is happening that here what is happening? So this is the kind of a resource service provided to the web actually. What happened like here, hardware is given to you or the operating system is given to you, and what is happening that all the Docker installation is already done. You need not to do anything. Here you can directly run any Docker command. Like for example, if I say Docker info, see Docker info is getting executed. It means that Docker is already installed. Or else I want to check the Docker version, means Docker version or Docker -FN version. Show the version like 20 dot something, 20.10. This is the version, latest version. So or else you can even run Docker version. So like this. Now what is happening here, you have a ready-made Docker environment to you. So whenever you want to practice, suppose that I want to quickly check some option, man, I don't remember, but I got to know. So it's not like you have to allocate some OS in cloud and go there and try to launch EC2 instance and then install Docker. Finally, try with that option or try with that command. It will take some time, right? So if you want to quickly have a hands-on, you want to quickly understand, means Docker Playground is the best way, sir. So that's what I said, that we can even practice within the Docker Playground also to some extent. So once the Docker Hub is created, then only it will allow you to log into the Docker Playground. If Docker Hub I have not logged in here, right? If I'm not logged in, right, it will not allow me to log in into the Docker Playground. And the third is nothing but the AWS account. So AWS, we know that yesterday we logged into the AWS console, and then once you log in it will ask you for your account details. I have to provide my account details. $474SX7, right? Yeah. So I have logged into my AWS account, and as you know, this is the AWS kind of a small dashboard where it will show. And I want to launch an instance, I have to go to the EC2, Elastic Cloud Compute, right? So here nothing is there. So basically, I want to launch instance. So you can see here launch instance. If you do launch instance, yesterday what happened, right? You remember, guys, I choose Ubuntu 20.04, right? Today I can take Red Hat, or either I will take Amazon's Linux itself. Let me take Amazon Linux actually. So I'll go there, I'll click on Amazon 2 Linux. Here I'll go with the T2 Microsoft, that is sufficient for me. So you'll click here, nothing here. Add storage, okay, the storage is sufficient, 8 GB, fine. Add the tag. So yesterday we saw that I gave a tag of Docker host, right? So Docker host, and then next is the network security, security group. So I have already created earlier. So I will select an existing one and I'll give this as a security group, and I will say review, launch, and finally I will say launch. And here when launching it, as I said, it will ask you for the key pair. If already the key pair exists, you can do it. Either you can create a new new key pair, or else you can choose an existing one. So already yesterday I created a new key pair with the name Docker. I'm choosing the existing one and I will just acknowledge it and I'll say launch. So once I launch it, I'll go to the view instance. Here you could see that we have got one EC2 instance, and then like it is just coming up. Into 20, minimum 30 seconds. So either you can practice in the playground itself, or either you can even practice with the instance. It means that you need to first have a OS or Ubuntu OS or Red Hat or anything, and there you have to install the Docker package. That also yesterday I have shown you how to install it and all, right? So here what is happening is that, okay, it has come up in a running mode. So now I'll click on it and I'll go to the connect. Here what is happening that under the SSH client, you have this, he has given an example actually. So this is an example like how to connect to this machine, right? I have to just do a copy here, or you can even completely take like this and copy it, or else here if you click on it, it will get copied. So now what is happening that my docker.pem is actually there in the download directory, sir. In my system, I have kept here. Where is the Docker? See here, docker.pem is there. Here, this file is there. So what happened, right? Here I'll go And as I said, before all these things in your machine, you should have already installed Git. If you install the Git, and if you do a right click here, you will see some menu. Here you can see the Git bash here. So you will get a Git bash shell or Git terminal you will get, which is nothing but it's a bash terminal. So by using this Git terminal, you can log into any machine. See this, you can log into any machine. There are various different ways are there. Either you can do with a super putty or MobiXterm or Git, or else even the Windows terminal also. Even you using Windows terminal also, you can log into any server. But I'm using the Git here, Git bash shell here. That's what. So once you install the Git, actually, if you do a right click, you will get this menu. Here you can see the Git bash here. Click on this. You should already in the downloads data, because my PEM file is there. So that's what you could see that if I execute the PWD, you could see that, see, I'm in the download directory. Here what is happening is that here you have to run that command. Oh, I'm sorry, I think I have to recopy it. So here again you click on this, come back to the shell and then paste it. That's it. So I'll just maximize it and then I'll say yes. So here what happened, you have logged into the EC2 instance in your machine. So you can run some command, who am I, something. It will show that who is the user who has logged in. Okay, fine. Suppose some other if config also you can run to show that what is the IP address of your machine. Okay, this is the ETH0, this is the network interface or network instance we say. Or you can even run some command like ls command, nothing would be there. Now what is happening that here I want to, basically what is happening that I have chosen Amazon A2, Amazon VM. So Amazon itself has provided a VM known as Amazon 2 VM. So that I have chosen it. Basically, this is same thing like your Red Hat or CentOS actually. Okay, it is not Ubuntu, it is CentOS. So whenever you want to install any package, right, you have to use a yum command, sudo yum install docker. So I'm installing the Docker package here. You could see that here, see Docker is getting installed, the RPM. Okay. And here what is happening that apart from this Docker, you could see some other thing, libc group, pingz, containerd, runc. See, these are all the, again, some of the RPMs are getting installed. It means that this RPM, what we can say, if you say that, sir, Docker is the RPM is getting installed, but these are all the dependency RPM. It means that for you to install the Docker, all these RPM should be there. So what yum is doing here, yum is even installing the dependency also. It is not only installing this Docker, it is even installing the even other RPMs also. So these are all the dependency RPM. That's what we choose yum actually. If you use yum will also install the dependency package also. So now you could see that the yum has installed your Docker package. Now here, few things you have to do. Once the installation of the Docker is completed, you have to do few things here. One is that actually you have to make the Docker be under the EC2 user group account. To do that, you have to use sudo usermod -A like this you have to do, and you have to say that okay, the Docker whatever you have, that you have to make under the EC2 user group like this. This you have to execute, sir. After this, you have to say sudo systemctl start docker. So it means that you are restarting a Docker service. You can check the status of the Docker, whether it is running or not, with the help of a status actually. So here you could see that your Docker service is running and it is active and running. Oh, it means that Docker it is running fine now. Okay, sir. Now to check whether Docker has properly installed. Okay, fine. This says the Docker is running, but I have to confirm as a user. What I will do, I will just run a command, the docker info. If I run a command, you could see that actually it is throwing some error here. Yesterday, even we saw this also. It is basically throwing some error on the permission denied something. What I will do, I will just copy this. Or else what we can do now, I think you can exit it out. Okay. Again, log in. Yes, now I logged in. Let me check now, docker info. Now it's run. See, I don't want to even do some file change permission. Once you install it, once you do a restart of the service, and once you are adding your Docker into this group, then what happens, you can exit out and again relog in. Now you will see that the docker info command is running fine. So this says that actually Docker is installed. So what we did here, installation of Docker. What are the steps we do? We launch the Amazon VM. Once you log in it, what we did the sudo yum install docker-y. After this getting installed, what you did, right? You did a sudo usermod command a capital D. What is it? I will tell you. You are making a Docker user under the EC2 user account group. And the fourth EC2 user. Fourth one, what we did, right? Sudo systemctl start Docker. Once you complete this, how you have to test it means to test, you have to execute a command Docker info. Till here clear, sir? Any doubts you have, please ask me now itself. Don't go without understanding anything further. If you have stuck anywhere, if you're not understanding, please ask in between only. From now onwards, whatever doubts you're getting, please get clarified now itself. Even in the command also, when I'm started running, executing a lot of commands, you will see that so many commands are there. You get a lot of doubts. You have to interrupt me, Rajesh. Please tell me this again, or what is it? What is it? Like that, you have to get it solved. Everything.
Rajesh bhai, which you type the command -a capital G. So that is going to add Docker user into
Docker user, it is adding into the EC2 user account, into the EC2 grouper. Like for example, now, see sir, now what is happening that he is a user actually. Okay. Now what is happening that whatever I'm running the Docker, right, the command and all, that has to be part of this group itself. Now, suppose if I execute the ID command, see what is happening here? Can you see that? The user account of the EC2 is 1000. The group ID is also 1000. So what I'm doing here, I'm making the Docker as a part of the group account EC2 user itself. When I'm doing it, what is happening that whatever EC2 user is working under the Docker, it will allow to get executed perfectly without any issues. Otherwise, Docker will throw an error. Because if Docker is not part of the EC2 user, what is happening that Docker will throw error. It is not getting that permission, it is not getting this permission. You'll get permission issues. And every time you have to do some permission changes to make your Docker run perfectly. Hence, what is happening that if you execute this command, what will happen that you are making a Docker user into a group of EC2 user itself. So EC2 user is here. Similarly, yesterday what happened, right? If you remember in yesterday's class, we installed the Docker in the Ubuntu, right? So to install the Docker in the Ubuntu, we used a command or get script actually. You remember? If you go to the video, you'll understand it, right? I use this get script, Docker get script. If you click here, get Docker, if you go here, see, I told you to run this command, curl command, and then sh. Once you execute this script, right, this script will install the latest Docker into the Ubuntu.
Yeah.
Now, after this also, what I said, right, I think I've not noted down, but if you've seen a video, you will get it actually. I executed a command like this. Some of you remember, sudo usermod ag Docker part of the Ubuntu user, like this. I did like this. If you watch the video now, you will get to know this. So it means that I'm making a Docker under the Ubuntu user actually, under the Ubuntu's group account actually. Here I'm making a Docker under the EC2 user group account. So I'm making a Docker as a part of this group itself. Now you could see that actually, if you see earlier, this Docker was not added, sir. This was not there actually. Now after I execute this command, right? After I executed this command, even Docker has been added under this EC2 user.
Yeah, got you.
Now, clear, sir? Anything? Okay. Now what is happening is that fine. Now we have installed the Docker package and everything fine. Now I have to play with the Docker now. Now you say that Rajesh, okay, fine. I want to now some of the interview they'll ask, okay, they'll ask you like, see, I'm running some Docker command. What is the Docker from how you are executing a Docker command? You say that, sir, I'm executing the Docker command, everything with the Docker client or with the Docker shell. Okay. Now, if you come to the picture, actually here, what is happening is that here, if you go to the diagram, so this is nothing but this is the Docker client, sir. This is nothing but the Docker server or Docker daemon, whatever is running. This is nothing but a Docker server or the Docker host. We can call with any name. This is the Docker daemon, actually. Correct? Docker daemon. Now, what is happening there? Through this whatever the terminal you are having, right? This terminal, it is nothing but the Docker client, sir, because we are executing some command. So, what are those commands? Suppose you say that, Rajesh, I want to execute some command. What are the commands I'll execute? I will say, sir, Docker container ls, Docker image ls, Docker volume ls. Like that, Docker container run -d Ubuntu, like this. Docker container run -it interactive mode it Ubuntu /bin/bash. Like this, see, I'm running many commands, sir. How I'm able to run all this command with the help of a Docker client? It's left like a front end GUI or user interface, actually, we say. So this, whenever you are running any of this command, what will happen? That the control will go to the Docker daemon. The Docker daemon is the one who's going to execute all these commands on behalf of the Docker client. It is just a knowledge I'm saying, because nobody will ask an interview, but this is what you have to say, sir. You say that whenever I install a Docker, what happened? I will even get the Docker client also, and this is running as like a Docker daemon or Docker server. So here, basically, what you're doing, you are trying to do some kind of a client and server communication, right? Client and server. It means that Docker clients, it requires something to get executed, and Docker server is serving the service for that. So I am executing some commands, and Docker is serving the service, like that. Now coming back here. Okay, now let us do one thing. Let us do some hands dirty by running some commands now I want to check which are all the Docker containers which are running in my machine. What I will do, I'll say Docker. Okay, now you see one more thing. Now Docker has a fantastic set of modules provided by the Docker. Actually, you will be using a lot of modules while working the Docker. Like, for example, if I say Docker -help, I don't know anything what exactly the options are. Let me check the options. If I say Docker -help, you could see that there are various modules are there, sir. These are the various modules, actually, Docker modules, like builder, config, container, image, plugin, secret, stack, swarm, volume, trust. These are all the modules, sir. And the sub modules or the options or the commands for all these modules are this. These are all the commands or the options. Like, for example, if I say Docker container is a model, along with the container, what are the things I can do? Oh, I can do a listing, I can do an RM, I can do a stop, I can do a start, I can do a pause or unpause, wait, like that. You can actually use many of the options. Like, for example, here Docker, suppose if I say container, after the container, I don't know what is it. Let me do help, actually. -help. See, you could see that. It means that apart from the Docker and Docker container, this is all the commands, sir. So I can use Docker container attach, Docker container commit, Docker container CP, Docker container create. Like this, these are all the commands or the options you can use. So out of one option, can you see here? List container. So how to do that? Docker container ls. So I'm checking if there is any container which is running here in my machine. So you see that nothing, there's no container, it's empty. Fine. Now I want to create a new container, or I want to run a container. How to do that? We'll say Docker container. So what I will do basically, I have to use along with the Docker container, there's a command is a run. It means that you have to run a container. And what is that container? You will say Ubuntu. Now basically what is happening is that Ubuntu is basically an image actually. It's an image. Okay, sir, I'll do one thing, sir. Let me start with saying some hello world itself. Like for example, I want to first run a hello world image. Docker container hello world like this. I'll do one thing. Let me run it here in the playground only, so that you will see even in the playground. Okay, so I'll say Docker container run hello world. Now when I run this, see what is happening. What it says, what Docker is saying, it says that it is unable to find the image locally. Pulling, it is using some word pulling from the library hello world. The pull has completed and it has downloaded the status, and whatever the command was there, whatever the part of the hello world was there, that has been here printed. It says that it is just trying to print something, whatever is in this application or the image, like hello Docker, it is getting executed. Right? It means that actually you are running some container here. But let me check if the container is running or not. Docker container ls. You could see that the container is not running. What is happening that when I did a Docker container run is an option after the container to make sure that this image is running. Whenever you run an image, it means that you are actually creating a container. So whenever you want to run any container, sir, you have to say Docker container and run you have to use, and the image name. Here, what is happening that when you do a Docker container run, hello world is an image. But you will ask me, where is this image? Where I could find this image, sir? This image is there in a Docker hub. So it means that, oh, does our client will connect to the Docker hub to pull that image? Yes. So whenever you are saying any image, whenever you want to pull any image, all the image will be there here in this Docker hub. So if you say check here, hello world, it's a simple hello world image. Somebody is written on hello world. See, hello world is image. It's an official image. It's just an example to just print the hello. Like we say that hello world, hello from Docker. Somebody has written this image. Now what is happening that this image it is there in your Docker hub. Now what you're doing when you are running a Docker container run and hello, what Docker will do, Docker will initially check whether I have this image or not. So it understood that there is no images there. So that's what you could see that actually when it execute for the first time, you saw, right? When you execute for the first time, it says that it was not there. It was not found local. Suppose if I do here, if I do a Docker run container here, see what was it? Unable to find the image hello world locally. It means that it actually checking within the machine whether locally there is an image with the name hello world. Oh, it is not there. Then what is happening that this Docker client will connect with your Docker hub. This is a Docker hub, sir. So Docker hub is basically a centralized repository where all the images are uploaded. You can either make an image as a private image or a public image. So all these images, whatever you will see, majority of the image what you see here in your hub is nothing but it is all public images. These are all public images, sir. And you could see that hello world is one of the public image, and you could see that 1 billion downloads happen, and so 1.5K stars has been given, right? If you click on this downloads, you could see that how I can actually pull that image. To pull an image, you have to Docker pull and specify the image name like this. And you could see this hello world has so many versions, different versions you have. I think this is a very simple version. It is not there. So that's what, and you see that, for example, the output, you could see that Docker run hello world. You could see that it will print this message. But now what is happening here is that actually now it couldn't find it locally, that image, and it is pulling it and it is printing it. Printing whatever is there in the container in that hello world, right? That image, the image has, it only has the print statement just to print this message. That's what it is printing, and it is coming out. Now what we did, right? If you go to the playground again, now when I do, suppose again you say, Rajesh, again I want to run the same image, docker run contain hello world. Does it pulls the message? Does it pulls the image again? No, it will not pull, because already that image is downloaded from the hub itself. That already that image is downloaded. If you want to see all the images, you have to say command docker image ls. This is the second command. See, already this image is there, sir. We already pulled. First time when it pulled, that image was not there. Now we are pulled that image while running the container. It has pulled it and it has executed it. It has come out. Now you could see that it is there in the repository. It means that wherever you are installed a Docker, right, it also maintains an image repository. Whatever the images which you are making run, right, it will keep a local copy of that, so that the next time you want to run the same image, it will not try to download it. It will use the existing image what is there in the system. So that's how. And what this image will do, it will just execute and it will come out, sir. It will get exited. Now again I will run. Again I'll run the container. Again it will show the same thing. Now if I say docker container ls, I think the spelling is wrong. CONTAI, container. See, you could. So what this command will do, docker containers will show you what are all the containers which are actually running now. But what happened? This container is actually executed. It has completed. It has even exited also. Okay. So now what is happening is that, okay, this is how it is. Now, for example, one more thing. Like, for example, you say, Rajesh, I want to run Apache image. Apache. Okay. How to do it actually? Docker container. I'll do the same run. Can I use Apache? Apache 2 or Apache? Let's see what happens. Login denied request. I think there's no, it's unable to find any image. I think it should be an Apache. Just Apache. Docker container run. Unable to find the latest Apache. What is it, Apache? Apache. Apache 2, huh? Or Apache? What is it? Ubuntu Apache is there. Ubuntu Apache is there. To have any Apache 2 like this. All right, let me do HTTPD, sir. HTTP will be there. Yeah, it is there. So I'll do one thing. So go back to the playground. I'll do docker container. What is it? Run HTTPD, right? Okay, see. So you are downloading. See, it says that unable to find the image HTTP locally. It is trying to pull from where? It is trying to pull from the Docker Hub, and then it is actually running. Now, if you see here, it is actually occupied the terminal. It is running actually. Okay. Now, if I do a alt this one, you could see that it has opened the port actually. How to check it actually? What I should have did, right? I should have a detached actually. So it is occupying my terminal, sir. So I cannot do anything here. Okay. Like for example, I'll do one thing, sir. I will do a Control-C. I will kill this. Okay. And again, what I will do, I will do a Docker. Just to observe, sir, what I'm doing. Docker container. Okay. Run. I want to run the HTTPD, but I want to run in a detached mode. It means that it should not occupy the terminal. So I have to use -d option. -d HTTPD. Now you could see that actually it is not pulling it because it's already, it has pulled the image. If you see Docker image ls, you could see that hello world was already there earlier. Now the HTTP image is also there. This is the command docker image and ls. If it will show you what are all the images which are there in your system, and you could see that actually it is 138 MB HTTP. HTTP is nothing but it's an Apache, sir. It's an Apache model, or it's an Apache image actually. So you want to run any Apache service means you can run with the help of a HTTPD image actually. Now what is happening is that actually if you're now you want to check whether what are the containers which are running in my machine. When I say docker container ls and say enter, now you could see that My Apache is running, my HTTP is running in a foreground, and it is using the TCP port number 80, and some name is given for my HTTP. What is this? We will see later. And basically, what is one important thing is that whenever any container is running in your system, or it is been executed by your Docker daemon, always the Docker daemon will assign some container ID. Okay. Now this is what it is. So whenever I say Docker container ls, it will show me which are all the containers which are running. Okay. So now what here you did here, you just detached from your terminal, so that you want to free your terminal so that you can execute any other further commands, like that you did. Now you see that, now you see, I'll do one thing, I'll just, now you could see that it has already opened a port. If I click on this port, and here it is using the port number 80. Let me do port number 80. Wait, sir, why it is not showing? Basically, it should run, sir. If you run it, basically your default HTTP page will be loaded here, actually. Container.
But it will not open with that port number, Rajesh bhai. It will assign. It will assign some other port number.
Other port also, if it assigned, it has to show here actually.
Yeah.
Some other ephemeral port is also assigned. It should show here. When you do an open port, right, that port number you have to give it here. Okay, we will see in other things, sir. Like for example, suppose for example, how I'd say, like for example, if I say Docker container run, I'll do Jenkins actually. Let me check Jenkins. Okay, Jenkins is not there, like with that name. You have something like a Jenkins and Jenkins. I'll do one thing, I'll run in a detached mode actually. What I will do, I'll run with the detached mode. Okay. You're detaching with the terminal actually. Yeah, you can do that. So here what is happening that you are actually pulling a Jenkins now. You want to run a Jenkins application in a container. So that's what you are saying, Docker container run -d detaching, and you are running Jenkins. It is downloaded, okay, and it is running. If I do a Docker container ls, you could see that actually it is running here, and you know that this is running in a 8080 port number. Jenkins is running an 88 port number. Now, if you check it out here, basically it will be 5000, right? Double zero, right? It should open, sir, actually. Or else, is it not sure? Sometime port number 88. It should work, sir. It should run actually. Okay, I'll check it out why it is not running. Basically, what happened, right? What you said is right. Actually, it has to do here some kind of a port forwarding. It should do here. If it does a port forwarding, then what happened, right? If you do an open port, it will run it. We will see the same example in our this one, sir. Few more examples we will see later. So now what we are doing here, see, basically what we are doing here is that actually, so here when you're running a Docker and a container and say run and say Ubuntu, here what is happening that you are running a Ubuntu image itself actually, Ubuntu image. So what you're doing basically that you are pulling this image from your Docker Hub and you're running it. But what is happening is that what it does actually, basically, when you do a Docker container run Ubuntu, basically it is pulling the Ubuntu and it is executing the Ubuntu container and it is exiting it out. That's what, if you see a Docker container ls, you could see that only one container is running now actually. But what is happening is that we have run many other containers. To see even the exited container, there will be a possibility that many of the container will be in stop state or many of the container will be in exited state. To check all the container, whether it is running or whether it is stop or exited, you have to say Docker container ls -a. -a means all. -a means all. Docker container ls -a. If you see like that, you could see that actually just a few seconds back you had run Ubuntu and what it has did, it has loaded the Ubuntu image, it has executed. In that Ubuntu, it has only executed the bash command, and then it has exited out. It has exited out like this, and this is the container ID. So for each and every container, there is always a container ID like this. Okay, so this is what it is, and you could see that only one container, that is HTTPD, it is running in a foreground, and which is running from last 5 minutes. And this is some default name given by your Docker, actually, Docker daemon. Some name is given by default. If you're not giving any name of the image, right, or name of the container while running, what Docker will do, Docker will give some default name like this. Clear, sir? Now what is happening is that actually, now you saw that actually, that if I am using, now let us do one thing, let us go back to our machine where we have installed the container. Now it is good that we will start practicing here actually. So now what is happening is that, suppose if I want to run any container, I want to run a container, what I will do, I'll do Docker container, I will do the run. I will do one thing, I will use the same Ubuntu image, and I will give a sleep of some 60 seconds. So what you're doing here, you're running a Docker image which is of the Ubuntu, and you're giving it as a sleep of a 60 seconds. What you're doing here, you're making it to wait for 60 seconds. Now what happened, I don't have any other terminal. Let me do one thing, let me fastly log into one more so let me copy it. Now if I say Docker, this is container ls. Now you could see that this Ubuntu is running from 37 seconds. Here what is happening, that I have given a sleep of 60. So it will keep running. It is occupied the terminal, it is not freeing it up. So I open one more instance. Here I'm seeing Docker containers. It is still running here. It is still running 51 seconds, 53, 55. Once the sleep expires, right, the 30-second expire, I think now it has gone now. Yes, now it has gone now. So now you could see that when I do a Docker containerless, it is not showing. It means that basically it has exited out here. See, once this expiry happens, right, 60 seconds, it will come out from it. But here, if you want to check all the container, whichever state, whether it's stopped or whether it's running, I have to do ls-a. Now you could see that just about a minute back, the Ubuntu was running and it has exited out 19 seconds back, like this. Now what is happening is that, and this is the container ID. Now, sometime what happened that you said, Rajesh, I want to run an image. I want to be in an interactive mode, but I want to get a shell prompt. It means that I want to get inside a container. So you will do the same thing, Docker container run. I will use something as a -it. It means interactive. What is the image we want to run? I will use the same Ubuntu, sir, for some time, Ubuntu, and I will give /bin/bash. Now what is happening is that actually you are making your container running, okay, and you have executed that command here. Let me go to the other prompt and let me run Docker container ls. Now you could see that my Ubuntu is running forever. It is running from last 14 seconds, and this is the name of the container which is given, and this is the command bin/bin/bash is being executed. Now you could see that actually you are now inside a container, sir. Now, so once I was running this command, Docker container run -it Ubuntu /bin/bash, means that while running the image Ubuntu, I want to get inside the image with the help of a bash shell. Now you are entered it here. Now if you see that you are actually inside the container now. If I execute ls command, see, it will show me all the files and systems. You can even check df-h disk free. It will show these are the disk which has been assigned for your container. You can see some of the information. I think IP-addr is there. If config is there, let me check actually. Okay. This command is not there. I want to check the IP address, means IP-addr, right? IP address. Some command is there to check the IP address of the machine. So you can actually do many of the stuff being inside the container now. Now, but what is happening that again, what happened that your terminal, it got occupied because that you are inside that container by using /bin/bash. But now if you go to the other terminal, when I do a Docker container else, it is running here. But you see, if I say exit, exit out, right? Even the container will also get exit out. You could see, if I do Docker container else, see, now the container is gone. It is not running now. Now if you say -a, now you could see that it has been exited out. So what it means actually that even though if you get inside a container, by using a IT interactive option, by using /bin/bash, you will get a bash shell. It means that you are actually inside a container. Now if you go to the other terminal, now if I execute Docker container ls, it shows that your container is running from 8 seconds. Fine. But you exit out from this. If you execute and hit this exit command now, you will be out of the container. It means that your container will stop running. It will get killed. So you would say that, Rajesh, I don't want to do that, Rajesh. I want to run it, but I want to come out from this terminal. So there is some shortcut now. Say you have to do first. You have to say Control P and then say Control Q. See, you came out. So what is it? If you execute the command Docker container interactive run -interactive mode Ubuntu /bin/bash, you will get into the Docker you will get inside Docker, sir. But you don't want to exit out, but you don't want to run exit command, come out, then execute or press the key Control P plus Control Q. So what I did here, I just did a Control P and Control Q. I came out. Again, you run Docker container ls. See, still this container is running. It means that the container has not stopped. It is running. So this is like a running forever, sir. It will be keep running. So now, unless and until you stop it, it will be keep running, sir. Or unless and until you kill it, it will be keep running. So how to stop it? The container, you can say Docker container stop. Specify the container ID. Now you say Docker container ls. Docker container ls. See, now it has stopped running. Now if you want to check all the container which are in stop state, also it is running. See, it was running, just it got exited out now. Inflammable, this one, right? 18 seconds, it exited out. Again, you can start running that Docker. Again, you can start running that Docker container start and specify this container ID. It will stop. It will start again. See, now Docker container ls. This container started running now. Just 6 seconds up. Like this way, we just started now, sir. And we have to go a lot now with the commands. So that's how it is. So hope you have understood, right, whatever I did, right? So basically what happened, right, we are just running a container. Here we are just playing with some commands initially. We are not getting into any detailed things. Later what happened, right, I want to build an application. I want to make that application run in a container. How to do it? You have something like a Docker file and Docker Compose. Then how the networking works, how the file system works here. Internally, how Docker works. That and all we have to see. Once the main important thing in Docker, sir, in the interview also, what they will do, they will straight away ask some few commands, some options and commands, and directly they'll jump into the Docker file, sir. They will say that suppose I want to build an image, sir. How you do it? How you build an image? Either you can use a Docker Compose or either you can use Docker file. Okay. So most preferably in interview they'll ask Docker file only. So they'll tell you to open a notepad, write a Docker file to me so that I have to deploy an application. So to deploy an application as a container, you have to write a Docker file. Apart from that, they will ask some questions on Docker Swarm, Docker networking, Docker storage, some few things here and there they will ask. That's how they will start asking any question on Docker. Apart from that, nothing, sir. Nothing apart from this. This is whatever I said. No Docker Swarm, Docker networking, Docker storage, Docker file system, and Docker Compose, Docker file. What is Docker Hub? What is private registry, public registry, and what are the commands which are related to the Docker? And what is the difference between virtualization and the Docker? These are all the things which will be asked in interview. Nothing. These are the things. Apart from this, nothing will be asked more. So, according to my experience, what I have seen in an interview question answers, you might be seeing my interview question answers, right? Minimum, they will ask 2 to 3 questions in a Docker topic, sir. Not more than that. I have not seen any interview where they are asking half an hour, 1 hour only on Docker. No. You should know Docker, but what is happening that they will only check that whether he has worked in Docker or not. How they will check? With the help of a command. With the help of the command, they'll get to know his work. Oh, he knows about the Docker file. He knows about something on Docker Compose. He knows about Docker storage. He knows about Docker Swarm, Docker networking. If you have some basic knowledge, that is sufficient. You need not to be very master in the Docker. Actually, that's not required in DevOps. But you have to be master in Kubernetes. You have to be master in Jenkins. You should be very much master in even in AWS also if you want to get a very good profile job. Clear, sir? I think we'll stop it here today. Somebody can stop the recording.
मैं कर देता हूँ.
Yeah, please कर.